Welcome back.
Here we are.
The Why Not Us podcast. Beautiful man across from me is Michael McGowan. My name's Carter Kramer. And here we go.
There we go.
First pod of the day.
Yes, sir.
Hate this topic. You know I hate it.
Why?
Because it's so annoying.
Well, I mean, because it's going to be the longest general election in history.
The whole process is so annoying.
And we're stuck with the same two from last time or what? Geez. Anyway.
Which I don't.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
What
hey,
happened?
So hey, I wanted to. So we're running these election, podcasts.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So we're doing one every time we record. So basically, once a month we're going to release it, and it's going to give you the latest updates and all that kind of good stuff. But I want to start each of these with, I think a critical fact.
Okay. Okay.
And
God, where are you going with this?
RFK was in the news. RFK Jr. was in the news a lot. Yes, the last couple of days.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. Because if you haven't seen it, so Trump sealed up the Republican nomination, and Biden has sealed up the Democratic nomination.
Shocking.
Right? But he's, you got RFK on there going, well, now it's a 3-man race, which I don't know, I kind of giggle at, but I mean,
I wish he was correct.
I wish he was too.
I really do.
I wish he was too.
Tired of these two.
I mean, because he's trying to get on the ballots in so many states, and you need, in some states you need this many signatures,
Yeah.
that many signatures. In other states you need, kind of approval, and then you have to go through this process.
Right.
And then, the state, like state delegates or state lawmakers have to approve it, and it's like it's like this gauntlet that he has to go through just to get on the ballot.
And Mike, don't you think this is part of the problem? It's like we can't really see fresh faces and new folks have an opportunity to step into this position because you have to jump through so many hoops. It costs so much money. I mean, who has the ability to go out and get hundreds of millions or more dollars for campaign funding?
Right.
That's a normal American citizen.
Yeah.
It's just not, I mean, it's become such a tainted process, which is why I get so fucking annoyed with it. But anyway.
Yeah. So
yeah.
The stat is what he was saying yesterday. I saw an interview with him yesterday, and he says in the last 100 days, the U.S. the debt has risen by $1 trillion.
Ugh.
In the last 100 days, it's gone up $1 trillion. So I was like, that can't be. Is it really?
Yeah.
So I looked at it since the last time we recorded, and we recorded on February 2nd.
Okay.
So it's been 5 weeks or so.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. It has increased by $500 billion.
Dude, that's incredible.
So
that's incredible.
I want to start each of these election podcasts with, the usdebtclock.org. Right. If you haven't seen it, we've posted it many times.
It's nauseating.
But our U.S. national debt right now is $34.5 trillion. And today is March 13th. We will release this podcast on March 15th.
Yes.
Which is 2 days from now.
Yeah.
But so it's March 13th. So everybody either write this down or remember it. $34.5 trillion. And the interest on our debt is $768 billion.
Oh.
How is that sustainable?
I wish I was collecting.
How is that in any way, shape, form, or fashion sustainable?
It's not. I mean, that's the problem, man. It's like we're beyond the point of no return. This thing is broken beyond the point of fixing, I think. I don't know how,
And so this is an election podcast, right?
Right.
And so we've got the two people running for president again, the two people who have now, one did a 4-year term and one's done 3.5 years, basically.
Mm-hmm.
They're the two people that have contributed most to this national debt.
Yes.
And it's not even a topic.
Right.
No one's talking about it.
No.
You don't hear any in the campaign speeches and the rallies and the this and the that. You don't hear anybody talking about it.
Yeah.
It's $34.5 trillion.
But don't you believe that we're so much at a level, it's at such a level now, Mike, where it's a product of those that came before these guys. I mean, it's been going on for so long. I mean, this thing has it's been skidding downhill for a long time.
It started with W. Right, because Clinton, remember when him and Newt balanced the budget?
Yes,
like in 95 or 96 or whatever.
Yeah,
it was.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah, and $30-something trillion later, 25 years, 30 years, and $34 trillion later, here we are.
Here we are.
Yep. Mm-hmm. W didn't help. Obama didn't help, but Trump and Biden really didn't help. I mean, really.
I think it also speaks to the level of corruption at that level in the government.
which is now
right. It's like they're just spending to spend and then greasing, whatever relationships and people that are in the background that we don't even see. And we just get to watch that thing tick and tick and tick. It's awful.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys haven't checked it out again, it's usdebtclock.org. It has every number. I mean, it's outrageous.
It's scary to sit there and watch it.
Yeah, U.S. federal tax revenue is at $4.7 trillion. Our debt is at $34.5 trillion.
Yeah, I mean,
how do you pay it down?
It doesn't get any more unsustainable.
Well, especially when you're spending, Social Security is $1.4 trillion. Medicare, Medicaid is $1.8 trillion. Defense is about $1 trillion.
Well, think about this, man. Didn't you say the interest is like 700 some billion?
768 billion. So it's three quarters of a
trillion. And the income is 4.7 trillion.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you're talking about
those numbers are coming together.
It's insane. Yeah. I mean, at some point, we're not even going to be able to keep up with the interest.
Yeah. So anyway, so we're now faced with a decision in November,
right,
to pick the guy who raised the debt by this much or the guy who raised the debt by this much.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's stupid. But anyway, so as an update, they've won their delegates. They've got the most delegates. There was three primaries last night or yesterday, excuse me. It was Georgia, it was Mississippi, and it was Washington, I believe.
Yeah.
And they swept them and they've got enough delegates, so they're the nominees. So come the conventions in July or whenever they are, Chicago and Milwaukee, I believe, is where they're being held.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's done.
I don't even know why people are trying to go through the process at this point, because I feel like all of that was just a big.
So at this point, those conventions are ceremonial, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because the delegates are locked up in March, right? So it's ceremonial. So they're spending a ton of money.
Yeah.
That people have either donated or is tax revenue or whatever. They're spending a ton of money.
Yeah.
For what? To pat themselves on the back?
Yeah.
To give more campaign speeches? To do that kind of shit?
Yeah. To get behind another candidate and then try to,
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, at least since the last one we did, there was Super Tuesday, which
a lot has happened.
Which Trump won 14 out of 15, but Nikki Haley dropped out finally.
Thank God. Right? Oh, she's a Democrat and she's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
So it's really interesting. Like a lot of people, after a lot of people were calling for her to drop out.
Yes.
And they're like, she needs to get out. They need to unify the party. They need to do this, that, and the other.
Right.
And then she finally drops out. And then those same people are like, she ran such a great campaign. You've got to give her credit. One group of conservative idiots, they're like, she's made it further than any other woman has ever made it in presidential election politics. And I'm like, wasn't Hillary Clinton the nominee for the Democratic Party? Well, maybe in the Republican Party, but wasn't Hillary the Democratic nominees?
You guys were probably asleep when all that happened.
No, everything today is we've done it better than anyone else in history.
Yeah, of course.
Every speech Trump gives, he goes, we had historical numbers. We secured the border like nobody else in history.
Right.
And we've done this, that it was the most ever in history. And you've got the Biden administration. We've put more jobs on than any other president has in their first 3 years in history.
Right.
And we have the most diverse White House in history.
Yeah.
And like everything now everything's history.
Yeah.
It's so slanted and so jaded.
Yes. It's part of the issue, I think, that we have, Mike. It's that this idea that we want to do something progressive and something that's never been done rather than get back to some of the things that have worked for us in history that have made our country better.
Yeah.
We're now so concerned about being that pioneer standing on top of some mound that nobody cares about, that's meaningless, than we are about doing the main fundamental things that have gotten us to a point of a successful economy, of more jobs, of people feeling secure in the country. All that's gone. Now it's just like, well, if I can make this claim that I'm the first person ever to do this that nobody cares about.
I'm the first. I'm the first. And
and they don't ever talk about the again, man, and I get this, right? It's a sales pitch. So it's like, you don't talk about the failures. You don't hear about, well, we could have done this better.
No.
I would love to hear that from a presidential candidate, to say, you know what, man, I think we could have done this better. Here's some things that I'm going to do. No, it's, hey, here's the wonderful one thing that we did that no one else has ever done, which half the time is bullshit.
Jesus, yeah. Like anyway. the idiot press secretary, talking about how she's a historical figure.
Yeah.
Right? Because she's the first minority LGBT press secretary in the history. Who cares?
Yeah.
Gives a shit.
Learn how to answer a question directly.
Yeah, like don't read from the binder every time.
Yeah.
Binder, as they call it.
Deflection.
Right. So there's a couple of races going on that are actually of significance, I think.
Okay.
across
Okay.
the
Yeah.
country.
Tell me about it.
So I'm going to start right here in Arizona, dude.
Okay.
So Kirsten Sinema, I'm not sure exactly how to say it because I hear it different ways every time. But
sure.
Sinema's
Tomato.
yeah. So Sinema was a local state assembly person or state senate or something like that early on in her career.
Yep.
She then goes on to become the congressperson for South Phoenix.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I believe it was one of the districts in Phoenix. I don't know if it's, but anyway. Then she goes on to be a senator, and she was Democrat up until a couple of years ago when she switched her affiliation.
Yes.
She didn't switch affiliation. She just said, I'm independent now.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll give her credit, like she does work with both parties a lot.
Yeah.
And guess what? She can't run for reelection. She's not running for reelection
No.
because she's pissed off people on the fringes of both sides.
Yeah.
Like she tried to get this immigration bill done. Right?
Yeah.
We could debate the merits of the bill itself, but she
course.
tried to get it done, and she worked with Lankford out of Oklahoma, who's a Republican. She's done a lot to work with both Republicans and Democrats to try to get shit done. And now she can't even run.
Yeah. That doesn't fit into our bipartisan system.
It doesn't.
Which is unfortunate, right? It's you have to almost be,
Yeah.
And we've talked about that a lot. It's like, why can't we just have some common sense kind of centrist positions within these portions of the government, and they get choked out so quickly, man.
Yeah.
It's like people that are just radicals on both sides. And I use the term radical maybe a little aggressively there, but people that are just hardcore, that's the position that you have to take, I think, to be in one of these positions. Now, people will not accept you if you're like, hey, you know what?
Let's work together.
Yeah, let's help each other out. How do we figure this out?
So she announced it in a video on social media to say, compromise is a dirty word. We've arrived at that crossroad and we chose anger and division. I believe in my approach, but it's not what America wants right now.
She nailed it.
Yeah.
She nailed it.
Yeah. And it's, but I think she's incorrect.
Do you?
I do.
And what?
Because when she says, but it's not what America wants right now. She said, we chose anger and division.
Yeah.
Who's we? Politicians chose it in the fringes.
I don't know, man. I don't know, because look, why is the media eating up these controversial topics and these outrageous positions on either side of the fence? People love the drama, bro. We live in a world where people are hungry for the drama. It's like, I want things to calm the fuck down and people to be able to live openly and freely.
Let me ask you a question. Well, let's go back about how many minutes we've been doing this. This is 13. We're 13 minutes in, right?
Okay.
So let me ask you a question. About 12 minutes ago,
okay,
you said what?
I have no idea.
I hate this topic.
I do. I hate it.
And why?
Because of the drama.
Okay, because of but also what did you say before we started recording?
I don't remember.
You said I don't pay much attention to this stuff.
Oh yeah, I can. It makes me nauseous.
Right?
Yeah.
It makes, I guarantee you it makes 80% of the population nauseous.
See, that's the thing though. I don't think it is 80%.
You don't think so? You
No.
think it's less?
I think it's like 50%. And I think it's the other 50% just eats this shit up.
See,
which is why people, again, that's why those articles are the ones that get clicks. That's why those are the topics that get attention, right? It's like whenever there's drama between the two parties and the two sides, I mean, there's a reason, man, that debates have turned into, personal attacks versus discussions about topics.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. It's if we could stay on topic and we could actually talk. I mean, I can't even tell what some of these politicians are thinking when a specific topic comes up or they're discussing a policy. They're plugging their party and plugging themselves and not even really educating me as a citizen on what their position truly is. So I don't even know where they stand on some of this stuff, dude. It's gotten so blurry and everybody's so, sucked into like, I want to watch these. It's like, dude, why don't we just put these guys in a boxing ring? You know what I mean? I feel like that would probably get just as much. And honestly, I don't know. Is it even, I feel like some of this is so rigged again, man. So let me go back a little bit. And this is why the frustration comes for me. The frustration comes for me because I believed that, any sort of situation like this and running in politics, and started in small government, you talk about the people running for mayor and this and that. It's become a situation where we have basically pushed out the people we really want to be in those positions. They're too smart to want to do these jobs.
Yeah.
There's so much red tape, dude, and so many policies and so much bullshit. Now it's become a situation where it's all money driven. There's people outside of those people that are really truly the ones pulling the strings, telling them what they need, telling them what they need to do, how, you know, what policies they need to put in place so that they can make more money off whatever company that they come from. It's just gotten so tainted, Mike, that I wish that the people in the country that are truly doing great things for humanity and great things for people in our country had a position to even step in and have a chance to lead, and they don't. Nobody's going to give that person, you know, $400 million to campaign.
Yeah.
They're not.
Yeah.
They don't care because they're not greasy enough to want, you know, I mean, it's gotten crazy, man.
I
know that
there's a perfect word to describe what you just said. You're disillusioned.
I am.
Right.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you 80% of the population are disillusioned with our political system, our politicians, our quote unquote leaders.
I will agree with that. Yes.
Right.
I will.
So they're not paying attention either. Will they listen to something, or will they read something really quick that is flashy? Of course. But that's the media, because what the media is it's a for-profit organization.
It is.
They make money based on advertisers, based on, you know, just revenues and people that watch and all that. So they have to be sensational with what they put out there.
Absolutely.
They have to make it bigger than it is. And then you've got competing interests, right? You've got conservative versus liberal, right? Progressive versus, you know, versus traditional, right?
I would say.
Yep. So like, I think there's a lot of people. I think there's a lot more people than you think that are like you, who just don't want to pay. I don't want to pay attention anymore.
I hope so. I mean, I think that we do get a lot of feedback from our listeners, right? From people that have watched.
And that's a lot where I'm coming from.
Yeah,
actually.
And it makes you, I think that's part of the reason we did this in the first place, right? I think that a lot of us, and I'm one of those people, where you're made to feel like, you know, this thing is beyond the point of no return and there's nothing you can do. So what do? I become disillusioned, and I'm like, I don't want to pay attention to it anymore.
Yeah.
The bad thing is that's not necessarily the right thing to do.
Correct.
Right. And that's what we've talked about. It's hard because I want to throw my middle finger up in the air and be like, this is stupid.
Yep.
Because I'm so frustrated with the process and seeing, again, things like the debt, you know, situation that's occurred. And like you said, nobody's saying anything about it. It's like, it's no big deal. Let's just keep spending. Let's buy some more stuff. Let's send some more money overseas. Like, dude, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
This stuff is out of control. And you know what? Those in what I would call catastrophic failures within our government aren't talked about.
Yeah.
You know, media sweeps that stuff under. Hey, these are these two candidates that both of them are just, are now deeply ingrained in the system. And, you know, that's one of the things I loved about Donald Trump when he came into the discussion was he wasn't a lifelong politician.
Right.
That was one of the things that attracted me to him, right? I'm like, I'm so sick of these politicians because they're dug in like a tick, bro.
Yeah.
It's like they're being controlled by angles of people because they've just been in there for so long. They're dealing with lobbyists. They're dealing with other people that are trying to get things done.
Right.
You know, bring somebody in from the outside, which he was.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think that he had so many interactions within the political world because he was a powerful guy that was pushing on a lot of money. I'm seeing more and more of that come out, man, in these discussions when he's, speaking in public and some of that, where I kind of sit there and go like, shit, dude, like he's already one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he's no different than any of these other clowns.
No, you just get sucked in.
It's that term. That was the most friendly thing I could think of there. They are, man. They're clowns, bro.
I'm with you. I'll just
they're clowns.
Just some more words from cinema, because I chose civility, understanding, listening, working together to get stuff done. I will leave the Senate at the end of this year.
Just a nice slap in the face to the Senate.
Well, and just yesterday.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So let me look it up. Because I want to remember the first name and I want to get it right. A Republican representative from Colorado. His last name is Buck.
Uncle? Oh, that's not him.
That would be awesome.
He's somebody's uncle. That's what I'm calling him.
Yeah. So, Ken Buck, right?
Buck.
So Ken Buck yesterday announced that he was going to retire at the end of this year anyway. So he wasn't going to run for re-election.
Right.
He's an older guy. He said, I'm done. I'm retiring. It's been great.
Yeah.
Is that and the other? He says yesterday he just said screw it. He said fuck it is what he did.
Yeah.
He said I'm out.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm not waiting till the end of the year.
Yeah.
I'm out by the end of next Friday. He gave Congress, he gave the U.S. government, he gave the U.S. people 2 weeks notice.
I love it.
Said, fuck it.
Yeah.
You know what he said? And you know what he said?
It's
So
like Phil Mickelson that time in the U.S. Open when he just putted a moving ball.
that was
He's like, fuck it. I'm out.
So-
This is ridiculous.
So it's funny. Yeah. It's funny because
It's great, dude. I love it.
Awful.
So it was amazing.
So this guy, and he gets cornered like in the hallway walking through once he made this announcement.
Yeah.
You know what he said to a reporter?
Huh.
He goes, I've got better things to do with my time than to be here.
Be in Congress.
He said, I have better things to do with my time.
I mean, that's what
Than
it's
to be
become.
here.
But and again, dude, that goes right along with my level of frustration, right?
Yeah.
It is getting to a point where how do you not throw your hands up in the air? I mean, and you and I talked about this as well. You know, every single thing, especially this time of year, you know, we're in an election year. Obviously, we're getting to that point where it's critical mass, right? There's, you know, people are freaking out, starting to become really heavily, you know, engrossed in the discussion, and they're following their candidate or their party, right? And again, we've created this really heavy division. So I feel like it's back to, hey, pushing people apart. No, if you like this or that, you're, you know, whatever. We get here, and now all of a sudden, all of this, you know, everything that people come out and say in a press conference or in a public hearing or anywhere has something to do with the presidential election.
Or
They're like not
or reelect me.
Right. That's what I mean. I mean, they're diverting their answers and questions of topics, and basically turning it into a sales pitch of this is why, you know, we should keep Joe Biden in office, or this is why we need Donald Trump back in, you know, in the presidency.
Yeah.
Like again, man, these topics are just clouded and lost in discussion. And these people literally, I think, are sitting there like, throw their hands up in the air like, I'm tired of listening.
So you know
what anything done.
Do you remember? And we talked about this. I'm gonna get to that point here in a second. But remember, like a while back, there was this video that got shared, and it was shared like years ago, and it said, you know, which one is it, the NBA or the NFL? This many crimes, this many burglaries, this many domestic violence
charges,
like this. You know which one is it? Is it the NBA or is it the NFL?
Yeah.
Right? And that's pretty disparaging just to begin with, but right. But it was members of Congress.
Yeah.
Right. And we ran that down in an episode.
We dug into the charges.
Right. So yesterday, so I get up really early yesterday because I hadn't done as much research for our podcast as I probably should have in the last week or two. Right. But I woke up, I'm up at 5.
He's in the grind.
I'm grinding from 5.
Pretty good at it.
Yeah. So for like 7 hours yesterday before I had to pick up my girls from volleyball camp, I was doing research.
Yep.
In the background, I had the TV on, and the special counsel, you know, who wrote that, who decided not to charge President Biden with, willfully retaining secret and confidential documents.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So, and part of his reasoning was his complete reasoning was he didn't think that he can get a conviction.
Correct.
And he said a prosecutor has to weigh that out.
Yeah.
Which
you shouldn't waste time and money if it's going to go nowhere.
Makes perfect sense, right?
Correct.
And part of it was because he's an elderly, sympathetic, he's a sympathetic elderly man with a poor memory, right?
Right.
So
he did bring that up that, hey, I don't know that he really understood.
Right.
Which again, isn't that sort of a problem?
Yeah, it is. And you know what's funny is you've got people after the State of the Union last week when he was screaming at everybody.
Yeah,
you've got
angry.
You've got one side saying, "Look how powerful and forceful he is." You know, he's not. He's doing just fine. And you got the other side going, he's screaming at everybody like the old man saying, "Get off my lawn."
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
he looks like that guy.
Exactly. So it's and he bumbled through that speech as well. But people don't pay attention to that because they thought he was so powerful and so forceful.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
His advocates anyway. But I want to go back to this. I want to go back to this piece of, what you just said is everything's a campaign rally, everything's a campaign speech, everything's trying to get this guy elected, everything's trying to get me elected.
Yes.
So I'm doing the research yesterday, and I have this special counsel testimony in front of the Judiciary Committee.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
And it was crazy to me. The Diaz, right? So,
yes.
And I'm watching this whole thing, and there's there's probably, I'm going to say 16. There's 8 on each side.
Okay.
Top row.
Yep.
There's 8 on each side in the middle row, and there's 8 on each side in the bottom row.
Yep.
So they start this whole thing out, and there's probably half of those seats are filled, half of them, right? And he's there's opening statements. The chair, Jim Jordan, gives his statements. The majority leader, Larry Adler, from a Democrat from New York, gives his opening statement.
Yeah.
They're polar opposite statements, by the way.
Yeah.
What it means to one person, that report, it means something totally different to another
absolutely.
person,
Yeah.
because it's all politically motivated.
Correct.
So then Hur gives his opening statement.
Yep.
And he's like, what I'm going to do here, basically what he said is, he gave a story about how he's the son of immigrants and he's risen through the ranks and he's very proud of his American story, right?
Right. Yep.
Which I think is awesome.
Yeah, me too.
And then he said, basically, hey, listen, what I'm going to say today, the answers I'm going to give are going to be directly reflective of what I wrote in that report.
Yep.
He goes,
Yep.
I'm not going to get into theory. I'm not going to get into hypotheticals. I'm not going to get into arguments.
Yep.
Right. And so basically from the start, like, people were asking him for his opinion. Well, would you have charged him if he was 65 instead of 81? And he's like, again, I'm not going to get into
read the
hypotheticals.
report.
But then it really devolved, this whole thing. It was embarrassing, because as they call another speaker, you're like, I remember when that guy was in the news because he had a mistress and got caught.
Right.
And then
Right.
and then it moves over to another one, and it was funny when Eric Swalwell, who was the guy, he's the guy
Yes.
in California, and he had the hooker who was a Chinese spy, right? Like, then he's questioning him, and he's not even really questioning him. He's asking like rhetorical questions,
Yeah.
and then he would answer for the special counsel, regardless of what the answer was.
Yeah.
And then then it goes back over. Then it goes back over to the other side.
Yeah.
And it goes to this side. And you had Adam Schiff, that guy who's been censured by Congress.
Yep.
He's just, well, you knew it was going to be this, and you knew it was going to be that, right? And then it goes back and forth, and both sides, right? Both sides. The Republicans were basically saying, well, all the elements of a crime are here, but you didn't charge him, but you did charge Trump, or the DOJ did charge Trump.
Right.
Then you've got the Democrats going, so basically what you're saying is, because you didn't charge him, you've exonerated him. And he's like, no,
he's not.
And so
they just
take shit
because he
spin
did
it.
Yeah.
That idiot. So she wasn't there to begin with. That race baiting piece of shit, Cori Bush, out of St. Louis. She is, and you know it. She read a 3-page statement. She didn't ask him a question.
Yeah.
I
didn't see this.
She took her 5 minutes.
Okay.
And she read a 3-page statement, and she said racism. She called Trump. She goes, the white supremacist in charge. Like, she used the word racism probably 20 times.
Well, of course.
Right?
Yeah, sure.
And she just read a 3-page statement. Didn't ask him one question.
Yeah.
Just read a statement about how Trump is bad, Biden is good, Democrats are winning, and Republicans are losers.
Yeah.
And she it had nothing to do. She didn't ask him one question.
Yeah.
And she's on that committee, by the way.
Yeah.
And she wasn't there when it started. She comes in, she sits down, she's given her 5 minutes, she reads her statement, she gets up and she leaves. That dude was sitting there, Robert Hur was sitting there for 5+ hours.
Right.
Right? And she was there for 17 minutes, maybe.
Yeah. It's just disrespectful for one. It's like
completely
disrespectful. Speak about the topic
and what are you doing otherwise?
Right.
You out doing a campaign event? You trying to raise more funds? I mean, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, she's a piece of shit. Swalwell's a piece of shit. Skiff is a piece of shit, or Schiff or whatever.
Yeah.
They're all like that. I mean, it was just, and I just picked on some Democrats. I get it, but there's a couple guys on the Republican side too. You're like, I remember when you got kicked, you almost got kicked out of Congress.
Absolutely.
Right?
No, there's a lot of hypocrites running around within that.
It's unbelievable. And again, it's not anything to do. They weren't asking necessarily questions that they didn't think they already knew the answers to. Right? They were just making campaign statements. They were just giving the American people who they thought were watching, and probably I was one of 14 people watching, right? Like, in the whole country.
Yeah. Right? But again, man, that's the back and forth and the drama seems to draw more people into, the arena, I'll call it.
Yep.
But again, it's like, it seems so pointless to get into some of these discussions because that's all it is. It's the finger pointing back and forth. It's everybody's interpretation, which is their own. I mean, people just make up nobody's even looking at the information available, listening to the facts. They just go, yeah, I told you.
It was really interesting. At one point, there's a Democratic Congresswoman from Washington, Jalila Powell, or I can't say it right.
Yeah.
And she kept saying exonerated.
Yes.
And so Robert Hur's like, I did not exonerate him. The word exoneration or exonerated does not appear in my report. I did not exonerate him. He's saying this.
Yep.
And they're talking over each other. And she actually stops him. She goes, "Sir, this is my time." She said, "This is my time."
Yeah.
Right? Now, maybe perhaps she was referring to the 5 minutes that she was given. But that she was on stage at that point. She said, "This is my time."
Yeah.
It wasn't her constituents' time.
Right.
It wasn't Robert Hur's time.
Yeah.
It was her time. She said, "Excuse me, sir, this is my time."
Yeah.
Selfish. Dude, it's
silly,
unbelievable.
bro. It's silly.
So anyway, these are the choices we're left with though in these elections, because as you stated before, no one good wants to get in it.
No one good wants to get in it, nor can anyone that's, a normal human being even get in the discussion.
And we're
can't afford it.
I think one of the worst political environments in the world is California. It's just my personal opinion. I mean, look at the streets. I went to San Fran. I went to San Fran a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, you were just there. Yeah.
I can't even. I was going to take pictures and stuff to send you, but I literally couldn't pick up my phone and take a picture because I had to look away.
Really?
It's unreal.
Wow.
It's a trash. The people.
Yeah.
It's disgusting.
Yeah.
And I used to love that city.
Yeah.
I couldn't even bring myself to take videos or a picture because I didn't want it on my phone.
Yeah.
I wanted to send it to you and just be like, holy cow.
I said to you this morning, I'm like, we're driving here. You scooped me up this morning and driving into the city, and I'm looking around and I'm like, dude, that's so much shittier than it was when I lived in the city of Phoenix, in the early 2000s. Like it's.
Well, and part
of that is California politics coming into Arizona, right?
And part of it was Sheriff Joe back in the day actually policed.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So anyway, so again, I think California, the political environment there it's a wasteland.
Right.
But you've got a race going on with that idiot Schiff.
Yeah.
I was just talking about.
Yep.
He's leaving Congress to run for Senate.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So they had a runoff a week or two ago, whatever it was, and the 4 top candidates and so the top 2 are the ones who face off.
Yep.
There were 3 Democrats and 1 Republican.
Yeah, of course.
So Schiff, the Democrat, won, and Steve Garvey, Republican, won or came in second.
Yeah.
So the other 2 Democrats fall off.
Yeah.
Right? It was Katie Porter, and someone else and that's replacing Feinstein.
Yep.
Right,
Okay.
Yep. Passed away.
Yep.
So Steve Garvey, he's like, hey, batter up. He played for he's a legend. He's a baseball legend. Yeah. And he has some legit thought process about what they can do in California to clean that place up and to make it better again.
Right.
And I'm like, maybe California has a hope until they elect Schiff, which is going to happen.
Yeah, they will.
So now this guy that spread all the lies about Trump and Russian collusion and all that stuff was censured because of it by Congress.
Yeah, which is wild.
Now he's going to win. He's going to win election to Senate, and he's going to spend the next 8 times, probably 24 years.
Yeah,
in the Senate.
Yeah,
as a corrupt.
Yeah,
oh man. Anyway.
Look, man, we are rewarding false information, right? It's like that's kind of the. I feel like if we are patting people on the back and we're celebrating people for essentially telling lies because it goes along with the story that we want to believe, not what is the truth, where do we ever? We're living in a it's fiction, bro. Yeah. We're living in a fictional novel. It's like there's the reality is gone. That's how I feel about it. I'm like, it's a fucking soap opera.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's like, oh, who's gonna be the next person to have some weird bomb dropped on them for something? It's like. Why are we not talking about things like the national debt, about the border crisis, about the inflation that's happening, about people's inability to live? I think it's funny too, man, because as I've been looking at this stuff the last couple of days, one of the things that I think is comical is that there's all these people trying to trying to build reports. And we talk about statistics a lot, right? And how you can manipulate things through statistics to try to show that, you know, the economy, you know, during the Biden administration is totally fine. It's fine. Nothing really bad has happened.
Yeah.
But when you talk to human beings, that's not true.
Yeah.
Right. It's like
what we see with our
any
eyes
story
and what we hear with our ears are two different things.
Absolutely.
Two completely different things.
But, and again, dude, that's what all these people are going to do is they're going to tell the story that matches up with their position, with, you know, where they stand in the topics or with their political party.
Yeah. And like you say,
what about us?
They're dug in. And like you said, they're dug in. So we did one of our episodes we did this year. So since the first of the year was on the border wall. And remember how we had we invested $307 million worth of equipment and storage.
Yeah.
Then we sold it for about $500,000.
Yep.
Right. And what did we say in that podcast? We basically said that was just a shit business decision.
Yeah.
It was a dumbass. It was a bad decision. You talked about I used to wonder why we're $34 trillion in debt. Now I know.
Yeah, you make a decision like that.
Because you make a decision like that. We didn't point. Who cares who made the decision? Yes. Politicians made the decision.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But that little clip was caught.
Yeah.
From you know, Jimmy and his producers and doing the work and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was a short that we published on our YouTube.
Right.
And dude, some guy just went nuts. That's nothing compared to what conservatives do. That's nothing compared to how they rape us with their tax cuts and then we don't have any revenue and
right.
Just
yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? We just said that's a stupid business decision. We're not talking. We didn't. Who cares who made the decision? It's a stupid business.
Yeah, it was.
It's just one more
decision happened during both. You know, during it started in the Trump presidency and it was
bled into the Biden. Yeah,
right.
So it's just.
Yeah, trying to make a point versus doing what's right for the American people is where these things get really sloppy, right? Yeah. That was the point I was trying to make in that discussion was we've got to stop shooting our, like we're just cutting our nose off to spite our face at this point, right? Yeah. Oh, I'm going to show that this decision that Trump made was a terrible one.
Right.
So I'm going to light $306.5 million of American taxpayer money on fire when we're 30-some trillion dollars in debt, soon to be 40 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
That's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
It's just crazy. Like we got to stop these awful decisions and stop treating this situation with our economy and the American dollar like it doesn't matter. Like, oh, we can just get into infinite debt and it's not going to matter. At some point, it matters.
Yeah, I guess you know we're coming up on time. I want to one quick thing.
Yes,
I saw where so RFK, right?
Yes.
So he says, well, now it's a 3-party race.
Yeah.
You know who's some of his top candidates for VPR?
Who? Tell me this.
That's right. Jesse Ventura.
Yeah.
He was governor of Minnesota for a while, remember?
He was, yeah.
Was he pretty good? I don't know.
Like it was better there than it is now.
Yeah. Aaron Rodgers.
What? Is this real?
Yes. It's NewYorkTimes.com. Look it up. And the last thing I'll say is before we break. So I mentioned the U.S. debt at the beginning of this, and I'm going to do this every single time now.
Oh, man.
So it was $34,507 billion, about 200. It was 201 million. It's at 277 million now. It's still 34.5.
But it's gone up 70 some million dollars in the time we've been sitting here.
In the 38 minutes we've been sitting here. How sustainable is that, dude?
It's not, buddy. It's not. Yeah, we got to start thinking about it when we're making these decisions. And, you know, as people get out there and think about who they're going to vote for, I hope they think about this situation and understand that we've got to wrangle this stuff in. And people have to start to, we got to start pushing, right? People got to start raising their voice a little bit and talking about this. And smaller government, local governments, state governments have to start stepping up and not buying into this situation of just, you know, hey, we're just put a Band-Aid on it. I can't.
I feel I don't know. I'm compelled maybe is the right word, but like I know we've joked about it. We have to run.
You think? Are you joking?
Oh, God,
Come on! I don't want anything to do with that situation.
And why not? Because
there's a lot of reasons.
Because you fear one of two things. One, you get sucked in, which you don't want to have happen.
Yeah. No.
Or two, which I think is the more likely for both of us, is we get in and we find out how cesspool-esque it is. And we just rebel against it, and we never get it reelected.
No, that's it. Yeah, I feel like we'd probably get offed
Yeah.
real early on in the process.
We'd-
Get rid of these two.
We'd be
You
Clinton.
and I would both be found dead, floating face down in my pool or
Yeah,
something.
right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. We'd be
I think it happened anyway.
we'd be strung up in a jail cell somewhere.
Yeah, that's suicide.
Yeah, suicide.
It's always going to be suicide.
Epstein did not kill himself. But
Anyway, all right. So let's wrap this thing
Yeah.
up, man. This is a good discussion.
just one more update.
And again, I hate the topic. I appreciate you diving into it more. I'm just at the point where, of course, I'm going to continue to try to push towards the topics that are important to me as a voter. I think everybody needs to see that, understand where your candidate stands in some of these positions, but also, continue to talk about these things, because this is gonna continue to unravel, and we've got to somehow, man, stick a Band-Aid on this thing that's actually going to hold for a while, or it's going to just get. I mean, again, $70 million in 38 minutes. We've increased our national debt.
That's ridiculous.
It's incredible.
Yep. So whynotUspod.org is our website. Why Not Us in all caps on Spotify. And it's on Apple as well. And then Why Not Us 1776
YouTube
on YouTube. So check it out. Check us out.
Yes.
One more election update down. We'll do another one in a month.
Thank God that's over. God, it felt like that was like sitting through the sex class in middle school.
I could see the pain in your eyes the whole time.
Fade it. All right, well, let's talk about something fun.
All right,
man. Thank
you guys next time.
Appreciate it.